my channel, welcome to my channel if you're new here. So, it's been a while since we had a proper video like this, and I'm sorry about that. So, many of you will have seen Reclaiming My, the last video you guys have seen will be the Reclaiming My Life video. So I've decided to sit down and do a whole video on sort of background of that and like story time thing. So me and him were together for 4 years. First 2 years were great. We were happy, making memories. Didn't really like within the first 2 years we didn't really argue. Like, there weren't many arguments, and if we did argue, it wasn't anything like too drastic or dramatic. And but unfortunately, the last 2 years of our relationship was just hell on earth. And I'm being deadly serious when I say that. It was unfortunately hell on earth in the last 2 years of that relationship. In the end, I had to unfortunately get the police involved because he had made threats on my life. He threatened to beat me up. He very much controlled pretty much every aspect of my life. Hated me going out with mates. If I did go out with mates, he'd call me constantly. Just one time alone when I was around at a friend's, he called me over 100 times just because I hadn't answered one phone call or replied to one text. So he bombarded my phone with phone calls and texts and everything else. And in the last few years of that relationship, I was miserable. I don't think there was a day that went by when I wasn't contemplating taking my own life, because of how miserable I was. My mental health went downhill completely. In the space of 2 years, there wasn't a time that I actually wanted to be alive. And in 4 years we were together, I had been through a lot. Prior to just before me and him got together, I'd lost my grandmother. I'd severed all contact with my dad, and then and me and him had become really close, and then we got together, and things were going great, and we were really happy, and then sort of fast forward to the last 2 years of our relationship, things just started to go downhill quite drastically. We were arguing more. We were, he would say vile things, and when I say vile things, I mean absolutely vile things. He told me to go kill myself on more than one occasion. He told me to go and get raped, and then said he was going to beat the shit out of me. And it was, getting the police involved was one of the hardest things I ever did. Unfortunately, it's a horrendous way to end a relationship, but it is one of the hardest things I ever did. And I felt after bringing the police, well, getting the police involved, I felt so guilty just for getting the police involved and doing what was best for me. So on March 15th, I got in contact with the police. March 16th, police came out and made a statement. March 17th, he was taken into custody. And questioned and then cautioned. After a lengthy discussion on March 16th, it was decided that he was going to be taken in and questioned on charge of stalking, because on numerous occasions he did turn up to my grandfather's house uninvited, refused to leave when he was asked, ignored me asking him not to show up at my grandfather's house, and so yeah, he was taken into custody on because of that and the threats, and he was cautioned and advised never to contact me again. He has since got in contact with me to apologise. He also asked if I wanted to be friends with him again, but realistically, being friends with him was just, it'd be too hard to be friends with him, and I don't want to be friends with someone like that. I hope to God that the next girl he goes out with doesn't have to go through what I had to go through, because no one should have to live their life in fear like I did. I didn't know from one day to the next what was going to happen, whether we were going to argue or not, whether he was going to make threats against me. On multiple occasions, on one occasion he sat there and said that he hoped my grandfather died. He also said that he hoped I got stabbed within an inch of my life. He, in the end, was a very vile person. I now want absolutely nothing to do with him, and I do wish him all the best for the future, because at the end of the day, there was a time when he did make me happy, and I did love him, and I would have done anything for him. Unfortunately, me and him couldn't have ended our relationship. There was a chance of us ending things amicably. We could have been friends, but every time I tried to walk away, he would blackmail me into taking him back, and I would take him back out of fear of what he would do, and who he would do it to, and no one deserves to go through that. At one point, I did reconsider going to the police. I did consider withdrawing or retracting the complaint I'd made to the police, just to make my life a little bit easier. I'm just so fearful of him, but I do wish him all the best for the future, and I wish his whole family nothing but the best for the future, because at the end of the day, he's still human. He's still a human at the end of the day, and so am I. I literally wish nothing but the best for him and his family. And I hope to God the next girl doesn't have to go through any of what I did. Although there was a time he made me very happy. Me and him do have a lot of memories together, good and bad, that will stay with me for the rest of my life. There is no future for me and him. Me and him could have ended so differently, and he chose to be vile about the whole situation and breaking up, and I generally think that's because he didn't want to see me with someone else. He didn't want me to move on. He very much wanted to control my life, and he very much wanted to be the one in control of what happened and when it happened. But now it's time for me to move on, live my life. It is literally time for me to start living my life again, because not only because I deserve to start living my life again, but purely because for the last 2 years my life has been controlled. I have lived every day of the last 2 years in fear of what he would do, or how he would act, or how bad would the next argument be, or would he follow through on the threats, and if he did, how bad was it going to be? And no one deserves to live a life like that, in any shape or form. I'm so lucky that I got out when I did, and I got out without any of the threats being followed through on. And yeah, like I said, I wish him and his family all the best for the future, because at the end of the day, I'm done now. Like, me and him are done, and it is time to move on, unfortunately. And I wish our relationship hadn't come to an end the way it did, but it is what it is. He did what he did, I felt what I felt, and it is what it is at the end of the day. It was a bitter end to a very bitter situation, unfortunately. But I hope you guys are doing good. And if you are in a situation like I was, then please do whatever it takes to get out of that situation, because otherwise, it's just going to get worse. And I do hope you safely get out of that situation if you are in the same situation as me. And please know that you're not alone. But it is what it is, isn't it? At the end of the day, do what you've got to do to make yourself safe. Because the situation I was in was very unsafe, and he was very unpredictable. I never knew from 1 minute to the next what he was going to do, how he was going to act. But I wish him and his family all the best for the future. And I hope the next girl doesn't have to go through what I had to. I really fucking do, because no one deserves that. And my family had to see me go through absolute hell and back, and and my aunt, my uncle, my grandfather, and my dad, and all that side of the family had no idea that what I was going through. But my mum had to sit there and watch it all happen. And I'm so lucky, and so grateful, especially to Sussex Police, because they were there for me throughout, um, like throughout the time that they were involved, and I'm so grateful to Sussex Police for that. And I'm so grateful I can now start moving on